Hey folks, this is Tony back with a short video followed by an auction recap. First, we're going to take a look at the 1984-85 Star Michael Jordan 195. This was produced in 1985 before the basketball season ended, and it depicts Jordan in his Team USA uniform. Folks remember how Jordan played on the 84 USA team. Fun fact, Barkley should have been on the team, but Bobby Knight didn't want him on it, so Sir Charles wasn't on it. But we had Jordan. Here we have the back of the card. I estimate the true pop to be closer to 750. And I got that number by taking the PSA pop count and subtracted that from the BGS. And that gave me about 750. This card is usually found with the number cut off. Just made it. This was originally in a BGS 7.5 slab and was graded in 2016 by the original owner. Second card we're going to show is one of the hardest MJs to get from 84-85. It's 288. It's hard to find because a lot of them got trashed based on the dark background, the thin cardstock, much like this one, but the blue was more susceptible to wear than the red stock, as you see in the 101 and the 195 card. So card 288 depicts Jordan passing the ball. It's from the same game as his more famous 101. This is a 5. It was originally a BGS 6 or 6.5. Take a look at the back one. Unusual about this one is if you turn these around, this one you rotate this way to see the back, and for this one you have to rotate it the opposite way, because if you don't, it's upside down. I don't know why Star did that. So here's the back of this one, and this is just commemorating Jordan winning Rookie of the Year for the 84-85 season. This also came out in the second half of the 84-85 season, so this was an 85 release also. When I zoom in, you can see the colors and the issue we have with the corners. Very susceptible to wear. That's why there's not as many of these graded as the other cards in the set. Put this around. I estimate the pop of this one to be closer to 500, maybe 525, instead of the true pop, which is about 700 and change, almost 800. So these are the cards I'm showing today. Hope you enjoy the video that follows this. It's interesting because there's two cards being auctioned tomorrow, and they both look to be thin. And you just can't automatically assume those cards are thin because they were trimmed or cut in the aftermarket, sheet cut in the aftermarket, because Star had poor quality control when cutting up the sheets. They hired a third party who did the sheet cutting, and they didn't always follow the cut line. Thanks for watching, and I hope you enjoy this video. Hey folks, this is your weekly 80 Star Basketball channel. My name is Tony, and we're going to dive right into what sold last week, in addition to the upcoming auctions. With this episode, we're going to focus a little bit less on past sales. We still are seeing the low supply of Star cards and slight appreciation of the cards, so that's to be expected. Simple laws of supply and demand. Since there's a pretty big auction at Fanatics Collect this Thursday, which is tomorrow, and it's their premier auction. As always, if you have comments and feedback and questions for Ryan and myself, you can reach us here. You can also reach us on the Star Basketball Cards Collectors Group Facebook page. I'm trying to get Ryan on Instagram, but I know he's extremely busy with work. And I can also be reached on my own YouTube channel, which is just TJ is online. No 101 sales. This was a reprint. Upcoming auctions, and here's where we get right into it. So on eBay, ending in 4 days, we have a PSA 8. At Fanatics Collect, we have a PSA 7.5, currently $78,000. And also on eBay, there's a PSA 4 with an Auto 8 at $51. When I was prepping for this video, I did not see it, so that just must have popped up on my screen. Zero feedback. Yeah, it's too early in the process to evaluate this here. Oh man, you can't make this up. And I'm not going to stop recording and edit it out. I have to leave this in. Look at this PSA case. All right. Well, there's a PSA 7.5, and it's a nice one. Typical left to right centering, decent corners. It's an honest 7.5. Current bid, $78,000. We also have a PSA 8 on eBay. Already has some bidding on this. It's currently at $2,000 and almost $280,000 rounded. We also have this PSA 8 currently up on eBay. Even though it's an auction, it doesn't have a bid yet. So this is the starting price, $279,999, which is, let's just say $280 round it. With the 195 sales, we're going back to June 19th. I'm seeing a total of less than 5 sales because you're going to see why. So we have a BGS 8 sold for $6,600, BGS 6 sold for $2,500, raw copy BGS 4 sold for $1,875, and then we have another raw copy. With the 195s at auction, this is going to be one of our first cards that's getting a lot of attention. And when I say one of the first cards, specifically one lot. So eBay has 2, PSA 6, BGS 7.5. Check those out when you get the opportunity. Fanatics has quite a few here. We have a PSA 5, another PSA 5, and then we have this. This is a BGS 9. At initial glance, I thought it had perfect centering, maybe a little too perfect. A lot of discussion on the Facebook group and private conversations. I received DMs, I sent DMs, text messages, and it's a little thin. Now, it could be thin for a number of reasons. Factory cut. We do know that Star had poor quality control when they outsourced the sheet cutting, and I have bags sealed that you can see various cards that are wider and longer, shorter, in the same bag. They came out of the same batch, and I have an example picture here. So this is a picture still of a video I shot in April 2024 when I was getting ready to buy this collection. It was raw. I'm the second owner. The original owner purchased it, sealed bags, took them all out of the bags, and put them in binders, and had a nice set. So you can see here with this picture, there is difference. There's varying differences in width. So the Thompson comes out this far. Then we got the Jones, comes out a little bit thinner. Then we got the Wilkes, which is in between the Jones and the Thompson. And these weren't trimmed or aftermarket cut. It's just that's how they came out. So going back to this card, I tried to put together an overlay of my PSA 7, which I know wasn't altered in any way with this card, and it's tough. So I used Photoshop Express on iOS, and my card is in the PSA coffin. You know, the BGS 9 is in that one, and my card's a little bit wider and a little bit longer. Now, I couldn't get a perfect exact overlay, so there's no blurriness. The images, I could not get the images no matter what I did to overlap perfectly with the inside racetrack, the star 85, the name, and the logo. And that's because of how this process works. Sometimes you can get a perfect overlay, other times you can't, and that's due because, and I noticed from my former programming life when I worked with Adobe, PDFs, TIFF images, PNGs, and other formats. Just sometimes you can't because the images get manipulated when you scan them, you resize them, because it's all mathematics and programming code behind the images. And then Apple and Android, they have pinch to zoom, and that further distorts the images and changes all the mathematics and the calculations and everything that makes up what you see on the screen that we call a picture. But you can see here the racetrack is pretty aligned here. It gets a little bit blurred here. So you can definitely question the length, but when it comes to the width, I think it's pretty obvious here that it's thin. Now, is it thin? What's the reason of it being thin? I don't know. I can't comment on that, nor if I did, I wouldn't feel comfortable to, because as you saw in my previous example, these cards were cut to varying degrees by Star's third-party cutter themselves when they outsourced it. So that's about that card. Let's go into the 288. We're going to have a similar conversation about that card too. I saw 0 sales since the 19th. When I look at upcoming auctions, I see 2. I see the BGS 9 that's currently at Fanatics Collect as part of their premier auction, and I see this other BGS 9 on eBay. This is a starting price of the bid, so it's not like you have this many bids to get it up. I do have a similar example that I tried to put together using Photoshop Express for this card, and here's what I came up with. So I wasn't able to get the overlay perfect, or as good, I should say, as the previous one, but you see the racetrack's pretty aligned here. It's aligned and overlaid just enough to get an idea. And this width looks okay to me because you really can't go by the difference in size here because that could be just due to the image. But when you get to the length of the card, my card in the PSA slab's longer. And if you go into the Facebook group, scroll down here, I actually uploaded my videos where you can see the transition between the PSA and the BGS slab for both of these cards. Food for thought. I'm not making my opinion known here because I don't have enough evidence to, nor do I want to manipulate the price of these two cards. So just, this is the information, use it as a guide, as a gauge, and make your informed decisions whether you want to place a bid. On to the next card. We have the 117 second year MJ BGS 9 sold for $34.95 on eBay. Upcoming BGS 9s of the 117s, I see 3 currently, all at eBay. Probstein, just be careful bidding on his auctions. Nothing he can do about it. It's just people do tend to do shady things. But again, it's not his fault. There's nothing he can do about it. It's the eBay platform. That's a limitation. So this BGS 9.5 is currently at $25.50. We have a BGS 9 here. Next to this BGS 9, $32.95, and this is at $25.50. So take an in-depth look at those when you get the opportunity. Moving on up to the next card, we have the Clyde Drexler. I'm going to show Clyde the Glyde a little bit more love. He's on this show for a second consecutive week. We have the PSA 7 autograph with the 10 auto grade. This sold for $16.93. Yeah, this is a pretty good price in my opinion. I haven't comped this card out because you don't see it too often, but knowing how much Drexler rookies go for, even the 7th grade, and then the cost of the autograph, I think it's a good buy. And I did talk to Patrick Ryan. This was his card, legit autograph. Patrick takes extremely care in getting his cards signed. Yeah, every now and then, much like any of us, he has one that goes sideways, but that's not his fault. That's so much. There's so many varying factors. It could be the most likely it's the athlete doing the signature, or you just have bad luck with the paint pen. And if you do need paint pen recommendations for on-card autos, hit me up and I'll tell you which ones I use. We also had a BGS 8 that sold for $11.75.